Have you ever wanted to be the preferred realtor for a particular building or a community in your local market area? I'm sure you have. Today, we're going to find out exactly how to do that. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name's DJ Paris. I'm your guide and host through the show, and I have some breaking news, some really exciting announcement in early January. We hope we are going to be doing a seminar, a webinar actually, for our listeners, where we're going to help you actually do a business plan in real time for 2025 based on practices from top 1% agents all over the country. This is very exciting for us, so be on the lookout. We're going to be announcing it soon and how you can participate, and we hope that that'll really help you have an amazing next year in the business. As always, please remember to tell a friend about this show. Think of another agent that could benefit from hearing from top producers like Gia. Send them a link. Also, please subscribe and like us everywhere you find us, as well as leaving us a review. Let us know what you think of the show, what we can change, what you like, so we can keep making sure that we're meeting your needs. All right, let's get to the main event, my conversation with Gia Devenyi. This episode of Keeping It Real is brought to you by Real Geeks. How many homes are you going to sell this year? Do you have the right tools? Is your website turning soft leads into interested buyers? Are you spending money on leads that aren't converting? Well, Real Geeks is your solution. Find out why agents across the country choose Real Geeks as their technology partner. Real Geeks was created by an agent for agents. They pride themselves on delivering a sales and marketing solution so that you can easily generate more business. Their agent websites are fast and built for lead conversion with a smooth search experience for your visitors. Real Geeks also includes an easy-to-use agent CRM. So once a lead signs up on your website, you can track their interest and have great follow-up conversations. Real Geeks is loaded with a ton of marketing tools to nurture your leads and increase brand awareness. Visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod and find out why realtors come to Real Geeks to generate more business. Again, visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod. And now, on to our show. All right, today on the show, my guest is Gia Devenyi from the Gia Chicago team here in Chicago, Illinois, with Jameson Sotheby's International Realty. Let me tell you more about Gia. Now, Gia Devenyi is a global real estate advisor with Jameson Sotheby's International Realty. She's also a leading force in Chicago real estate with over $130 million in career sales. She combines market expertise and a competitive edge to secure outstanding results for her clients. In 2020, in the heart of COVID, Gia launched Gia Chicago, a thriving team with $65 million in sales since it was formed. She was also inspired by early years as a tennis pro. Gia brings a fierce competitive spirit to the Chicago market, making her a fearless leader in every transaction. Her deep local roots and passion for excellence make her a trusted guide across residential and leasing real estate. Gia actively supports her local community and business in Avondale, where she resides with her husband Sam, their Havanese son Milo, and miniature black poodle daughter Mila. I like that, Mila and Milo. Everyone follow Gia on her Instagram page or Instagram account, which is Gia Chicago. So at Gia Chicago, find her there. We will have a link to that in the show notes. Gia, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me, DJ. I really appreciate the invite and excited to be here.
Well, I learned about you at an event, which was like a month or two ago at A&N Mortgage, and they had you speak on a panel, and you were so outstanding. I was like, I have to get you on our podcast. So welcome. We're excited to have you. And I'm just excited to have another local Chicago person on who I don't have a lot of Chicago people on these days. So this is really fun for me. And our listeners are going to really appreciate what you have to talk about. But let's start with your story. So how and why did you get into real estate?
Sure. Well, it was a long, long time ago, DJ. Okay, so basically it really was a long time ago. I was 20, I was honestly around like 20, 21 years old. Um, and my father was getting into flipping properties. So essentially, he was an investor and he kept nudging me to get my real estate license. And honestly, it really did not sound that desirable to me at the time. I was a little bit young, possibly a bit immature. Um,
What, a 21-year-old
so
old who's immature? That's impossible.
I know, right? So it's crazy. I didn't go to college, and I was aspiring to be a tennis player, right? A tennis
Yeah,
pro. Um, but I knew that, I had to have some other options out there. And my dad did keep kind of dangling the carrot and saying, "Hey, look, I'm starting to purchase a lot of properties. It'd be so cool as my daughter to be the listing agent. Like, I could really get you into this." And we really started off on the investor side of things. So before I actually got licensed, I actually used to be a um, almost like a photographer for my dad, but a different kind of photographer, not the one that goes and takes beautiful pictures of homes. It was a little bit different because these were for sheriff sales. And my dad used to take me to the auctions and we used to bid on properties. And this is right back in 2006.
oh
So
boy,
I'm sure you kind of
sure.
know where this might be going.
Yeah, yeah.
The good old recession. So
Mm,
I agreed to get my license in 2006. Finally, I did. And as it happened, the market crashed. And I was about 22 years old. And it was. It was unexplainable to me, meaning as I just didn't understand how to navigate it. I was
sure.
so
What do I
young.
do now? Yeah.
Totally. It was like, what do I do now? And it was interesting to say the least. So I started off in the industry like that. I was actually a suburb agent in Naperville. I did a lot of the western suburbs. I did a lot of the southern suburbs as well. And it was just a whole different market than where I am right now. But I will say this: I did learn a lot. My parents always said to me, if you can stick this out, Gia, how many years it will be. I never predicted how many years that recession was going to be. A lot of tears were shed. Uh, but it was definitely one of those things that I'm really grateful that I listened to my parents and I stuck through it. And they're like,
Yeah.
if you do this, you will come out on top. Um, but I do believe that because of the recession and the age I was at getting into it, it kind of, I don't want to say it like set me back a little bit, but I feel like my career didn't really get started until I came to the city, which was like in 2000 and almost 13.
So you basically did like almost a reverse move, right? A lot of people here in Chicago, they're here in the city in their early 20s. They have city life, they love it, and then like, I want to go have more space and be out in the burbs. Certainly the flight out there, and I like that you did the reverse flight because I'm a city person as well. So I very much appreciate that. And do you
Totally.
enjoy selling more? And again, I know you sell not just in the city. Of course, you go where your clients need you. Do you prefer to sell, not that one's better than the other, but is it more fun to sell in the suburbs, in the city? What do you like to do?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll be honest, like it's so fast paced out here in the city. This was always my vibe. When I had a wonderful managing broker who was my mentor at Ryan Hill Realty, it was called, back in Naperville. And he always said to me, Gia, what are you doing? You need to be in the city. You're a city girl. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Jack, I'm old. Like, at the time I'd be like 27, I'm like, everyone's
So
moving
old.
back. I know. And then I look back and I'm like, what am I thinking? But it's just like, you see all these people that are starting to move back at like 29, 30, 31, 32, have kids. And I just really didn't think that, I don't know. I doubted myself, honestly. And
Yeah.
I got to the city, super fast pace. I loved it. These past 10, 11, 12 years, whatever it's been, have been amazing. But I will say this: I do not mind going to the suburbs and pulling into a driveway. And
Sure. It's kind of
I
nice.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, like the rides are kind of meditative. And so I don't mind doing that at all. But I think if I was to pick one market over the other, yes, I'm going to be a city agent all the way, as long as I can tell, but as long as the future holds.
I feel the same way. I'm a city live. I've been living here for almost 20, I think 24, 25 years in the city,
Yeah,
and I'm certainly open to moving wherever if I ever have to.
sure.
But I prefer the city. But there's a funny thing that people who don't live in the city of Chicago wouldn't know is that people who live in the city, especially women, have this even I think more so than men. Obviously, is this like there's always a little bit of like a little bit of fear and a little bit of danger. We live in Chicago. We always have
Sure.
that. And I live in Wicker Park. You're in Avondale, both nice areas. And there's always still a little bit of like looking over my shoulder at night. But it is a lot of fun and there's a lot to do. And, I just walked outside onto Milwaukee this weekend and went to a comedy show like 10 steps from where I live, so you can't really
Totally.
beat that. But I do love pulling into a driveway when I visit my friends as well and say, oh, this is
Yes.
what a home looks like. I keep forgetting what real homes look like. Um,
Yes.
but let's talk about making that transition from the suburbs to the city
Mhm.
because it doesn't necessarily mean that your clients are also moving into the city or those are kind of could be two sort of separate worlds. Obviously people who live in the suburbs know people who live in the city, but was that a difficult transition just to find clientele when you moved in?
It was honestly just like probably one of the hardest times of my life. I yeah, because I didn't have any clientele in the city. I really didn't. And like I was honestly I was going through a breakup and it was like a really long-term relationship and I kind
Mm,
of like just I like broke my lease early from I was living in Lyle and like broke up with my boyfriend, then broke my lease and my managing broker I was talking about this my mentor encouraged me he's like go now. So I did and I literally didn't have anything to bring with me. And I'll be real with you, I did not have like a savvy CRM and a lot of us I think didn't either at that time really like things were just a lot different than they were. I don't was Instagram around? I think it was, but it was like
barely.
for
Yeah.
for being artsy, which
Right.
I would post like cool pictures, right? But
Right.
so I think yes. Sorry, I like to really talk a lot, but yes, you so nailed it on the head. Like it was difficult. It was so hard for me. I struggled. I was honestly I was really broke. I had to learn the hard way, and it really took a while for me to be able to get my feet on the ground with things. I had to make literally all new friends. I had some friends that were from my high school that still live in the city, but I was going through that breakup, and that breakup
Sure.
was actually a friend from my high school. So
Oh no.
so I lost a lot of friends. Yeah,
That
it's just one of
complicates
those
things. Yeah.
things. It complicates things. And it's just and again, like where I was doing the opposite effect thing where I'm coming in and they're moving back. It's like it wasn't, I don't know. I think I couldn't have done it honestly at the worst time. And that's okay because I feel like you go through those obstacles and those are what really makes you stronger. I think as a person, as an agent, I know what it's like to have it kind of rough. Um, and I honestly think that the time I finally actually started really seeing some really great results was when I got asked to join a team with and this team that was leaving their brokerage. They were going to at properties, and
Hmm.
I actually knew one of the guys on the team. I known him for many many years, back from Naperville. Actually, he was a friend, and they asked me to join the team. I ran with it. And ever since that day, I said, I will never say no to anything. I'm going to hustle. I will go to St. Charles, Illinois and do whatever I have to do. I'll go back to Naperville. I will do whatever I have to do to take leads. And then I also said, I will materialize them. That was another thing because I had the experience. I wasn't a new agent. So that was really when things started to really start working out for me was when I did that. I had some camaraderie from the team and it really felt good.
What were some of the things that you did to help lead generation? I know sometimes when you're on a
Mhm.
team, sometimes you're fed leads. Of course, that's one
Yeah.
of the nice benefits. But also, you're generating your own book of business too. So how did you do that with not a huge sphere of influence? You said pretty much people were like, ships in the night. Your people you knew were moving the opposite way that you were. It's not like you wouldn't go out and help them. Of course you would, but you're not as present in their life at that point. Maybe in that, they see you as a city
Sure.
person now. Maybe. So, how did you? But you were like, I'm going to go everywhere and get all the leads I can because why not? And how did you do that? Just out of curiosity.
Yep. So, okay. So, yes, not only did I just say yes to leads, like okay. So, for example, there would be App Properties had their app that had just come out, and I saw that people would be like, "Hi, do you want this lead? Do you want this lead?" I'm not kidding. I would be sitting here like this, waiting until this, like I don't even know if you could have notifications on like high set, but like I was just like me, and I would give this whole explanation how I had been an agent for this many years. I mean, I took so much time into every explanation. I would be all over the Facebook leads. Like I would see something come on, hey, I'm a buyer looking for first person. I would reach out, then I would DM them, then I would message them again. Like I was obsessed with it. I literally wouldn't leave people alone. I mean, but I made sure I did it in a nice way. It
Sure.
wasn't, that wasn't too overbearing. But I was very much responsive and on top of things and very consistent. And then once I started actually getting some business from that, I always kept up with my clients from there. I knew that these were probably going to be my bread and butter for the future. I learned that the hard way from not taking anybody over from Naperville. All these people I did close, which I had closings when I was younger. I didn't follow what.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
By the way, thank you for owning that and being vulnerable and admitting that, because every single person on this call is not perfect, and we've all let clients fall by the wayside, and it's something that it's very unfortunate and also very relatable, and it happens.
It happens, and you know what? It's okay. And as long as you learn from it eventually, and then don't do that anymore because it's
Right.
not helping your business, and then don't bitch that you're not getting any referrals. But one thing I wanted to say was I really started doing a ton of open houses. I set open houses for my team all the time. Like, I mean, sometimes I sat four open houses for the same property. If my team lead he did a lot of new development, so I was like, oh my gosh, $1.5 million listing, yes please. I'm like, I'll do it with just the studs in, and I did.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. Right, of course.
and like all you need is that one person to come by and just maybe say, hey, look, we happen to just be in the neighborhood, and
Yeah.
and it's happened. So that was a huge way for me to start getting business. Was doing open houses, helping out with showings, getting to know the buildings. Oh my gosh, that was huge. Like that was a big thing because we didn't have high rises and stuff like that out there. It was only single family homes in Naperville
And
mostly,
there
you know.
there are agents here in Chicago and in other big metropolitan areas that literally make their a good chunk of their career in one building or two buildings. Michael Rosenblum's done that. I've done an interview with him many,
Yeah.
many years ago. He's king of that. There's a number of agents that have done that, and so I want to talk about the one that you have done that with, which is called the Metropolitan Place. It's a high rise here in
Oh,
Chicago. But tell us about how you got into that building and how you started to develop relationships so that you became the agent of choice.
100%. So I love that building so much, by the way. It's like it's just got a part of my heart. And the reason why is because that's the home that I grew up in. And I say that because when I was actually dating somebody and they really wanted to move that way and I really didn't want to, and I pushed back on it, and he was like, no, we got to move here. Fine. So we end up moving in a metropolitan place, and it was such a cool like city loft. It was like something that you just like kind of see out of the movie, or something that you have like a vision of in your head when you're like younger, like when I was like in 1996 and I was like 12 or 13, and I'm like, oh, I just gave away my age. Great. Sorry. Shoot. But in 1996, and you're thinking like, oh my God, I want to live in the city in this loft. And that was what it was basically. So I ended up living there for about 6.5 years.
Wow.
And even though I was a renter in there, I was a renter. I was not an owner. Nobody knew. And so they
Ah,
like
that's
yeah,
great.
I know. They invited me to okay, so they invited me to all of their community events, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Gia, you're so fun. Why don't you be part of the social committee?" And I was like,
And by the way, we should mention to anyone listening, that's not normally what they invite renters to do, anything related to the building, because of course that's for owners, but they liked you and said, come on by.
"Yeah, they liked me," and I was like, honestly, really into throwing parties. So I was like, "Hey, we should do this. We should bring my amp because I used to play music and stuff, and I had a bunch of different amps. I'm like, oh no, we need to like light this party up, you know." And so I would like suggest different types of catering and music and this and that, and come up with all the ideas. So they were super intrigued by it, and it really was bringing the community together. And that was really like the biggest step right there into that building was just becoming friends with a lot of the neighbors. um, and then basically what happened was that boyfriend got kicked out, and then the new one moved in. So and then that became my husband actually. So my
Sure.
husband, I met him in Metropolitan Place.
Oh,
I know, and his somebody he worked with. They were my next door neighbor, and we basically just kind of like I don't want to say we ran the building, but like we were just friends with everybody. And then I tried making an offer 3 different times with the owner on our place. I really wanted to buy it and live there, and they didn't want to sell it yet, and they still haven't sold it. They're still renting it. But after that time, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be in this building somehow, whether I'm going to live here later on or just sell the shit out of it, you know?
yeah.
So I kept in communication with everybody. And before you know it, I started getting one listing, another listing, and rentals. I'll do anything rentals, listings, buyers,
Sure.
whatever. Um, and I have such a great core connection within everybody that it actually helps within the network to like pitch that to other sellers for, in case I have like an in-house buyer or in-house listing or whatever it might be, right? Or pocket listing. So I think that I I didn't really have to try that hard. It really was just about being part of like a lifestyle, really. I kind of just made it my lifestyle, and that's really how it happened. It was super organic. But like now I do send out marketing material, but I don't feel weird doing it where I'm like begging or asking for business. I probably shouldn't say it like that, but I don't feel that I'm asking for business. They already know who I am, and every January they expect to get this booklet from me, and it basically states a whole market update of the whole year, everything that I've sold, a little bit about my life, how I met my husband there, how I my dog was born there. Like
Oh,
it
so it's
just
exclusive. It's exclusive to the building.
just to them only, just to
That's
them
brilliant.
only. Yeah, and I do happy hours with them too. Like I mean, just like literally, I will shoot out little messages to the building. I mean, I know so many people there, so I have their personal emails. I'll say, hey, you want to go do a little happy hour over at the Marianos in West Loop? Like that's so funny because we were like, it's a grocery store, but that's actually where we used to go and hang
Yeah,
out. And so it was like
sure.
old times, and just really easy, simple stuff. They still invite me to their community events and stuff.
Oh, it's
I'm really
wonderful.
lucky.
Yeah, it looks like it sounds like to me that you married kind of your passion to this opportunity. It was like, oh, I like doing this. I like being of service. I like throwing, social events, and I like being helpful there. And so you just, all of those buildings are always looking for people to help with those things because
Yeah,
nobody wants to help. I know, like. At the building I'm at, I will not be joining the board, but I also don't complain about anything. So I think that's a fair deal. I go,
totally.
thank you for the board. Whatever decisions you guys make, I won't complain. But I'm also I'm not gonna do my time. I've done that before and learned my
Yeah.
lesson. If I was a practicing agent, I would totally be doing that because great opportunity to. And I'll give you just for anyone listening, you just reminded me of of a really simple idea that I think a lot of agents forget. And I'll use myself as an example. So I live in a building called Alcove. It's in Wicker Park. Anyway, our audience won't know what that is, but anyway, it's a relatively new development, like 4 years old, maybe three to 4 years old. I've lived there since the beginning. I can tell you the number of physical marketing materials that have shown up in my inbox from other agents. Literally, there's 46,000 realtors in the Chicagoland area, including the suburbs. I have gotten zero, not one in 4 years, and I don't think it's because people know I'm in the business. They would be farming everyone in the building. So
Right.
that is a crazy thing to say. Like, I am shocked. Now, I understand too, people who move into new construction usually don't leave at 3 years, but it would be a great time to start building a relationship with a a possible future seller. At some point, I'm probably going to move out of there and cry because my interest rate is so low and I'm going to lose it. But the point is people have
Yeah.
moved. People have moved out of our building who were only there
Mhm.
a year or two. Life got in the way or they transfer jobs or something. But I am shocked. I am still today. I've been talking about this for years on my
That's
podcast.
crazy.
Not one person has ever sent me a piece of mail. That is so there? What we're talking about is really what you were doing. Is you were
Yeah.
obviously, and you still do it. You're still putting material together for a building or
Oh,
for people
yeah.
listening. Could be a neighborhood. It could be a
Mhm.
community. It could be really anything that you're interested in. But just to give people an idea that if you think all of these places are being farmed. My building has not been farmed once, and we
Yeah.
we are we are a building that should be farmed because we have some good sellers in there that have some high priced places. So it's shocking to me, but that's
Yeah.
how
That's
much opportunity
crazy.
there is. Yeah, it is crazy, right? So
Yeah.
you could become the alcove person if you want to.
I
Um,
know, I'm like, "Just wait till you see next month in your mail, it'll be
yeah,
Gia."
no, but I love that. So this idea of just staying top of mind with
Yeah.
that building that you're with
Mhm.
and being a part of it, and also continuing to add value by sending out by putting those booklets together for that. I mean that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, for
I-
4 years too, it's been consistent, like, just something to the viewers really quick that are maybe even, like, newer agents and stuff. I know some people, like, feel like, "Well, I did mailers for, like, 6 months or a year," or
right.
whatever. That's not gonna work. You might get lucky, I don't know. I never did, but I can tell you what, I after 4 years in a row, I've been gone from that building. I've been in Avondale for 4 years. I haven't stopped once. Like, I every single month they do get a mailer, and at every single January for the last 4 years or 5 maybe even, they get the booklet. So, it's consistency.
And what I love about that is it every 30 days, and whether they just look at the
That's fine, they can
postcard
throw
or
it
the
out.
thing, of course, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's okay. We don't even care if of course they're going to throw it out, but at
yeah,
least they're going to see your picture and your name before they throw it out, right? It's like, oh, there's that thing that Gia sends me, I'm like, okay, cool, and they toss it, but they see you and they're reminded of what you are or what you
right.
do and who you are. So I think it is a great idea, and I'm shocked that more agents aren't doing that. I know doing mailers is expensive and it also maybe seems a bit antiquated, but I'm telling you, people aren't reading their emails. That's the other thing. I would love to do a
Yeah.
podcast called Nobody Reads Your Emails because nobody reads their emails because I am
Nobody does.
convinced nobody does. It's either text message or physical
I
mail. Those are the
know,
only things
right?
that are actually consistently getting looked at. And even text message is goofy now because people there's all sorts of spam on text messages. It's a little
Yeah,
harder to do, but yeah, so I love that. And it works, but you're right, you have to do it for at least a couple
for
of
a
years.
while, yeah.
Yeah, and you have to be willing just to eat the cost for a bit and realize
You
maybe
do.
one transaction is going to pay for the year anyway.
Exactly, exactly. That's the kind of mindset you have to have. You just have to kind of go with it. And if you don't want to pay for that all by yourself on monthly or whatever it may be, there are options out there that you could work out with, maybe partnering with one of your lenders and seeing if they'd be willing to split the cost too.
Yeah, I want to talk about um just sort of your sense this is something I don't ever talk about, and I think
Mhm.
I think it's a fun thing to talk about is you are somebody who I suspect is often told how great your fashion sense is. You're very intentional about your dress. You have a really unique style that is very cool, at least to me, and I know a lot of other people say the same thing about you. How much fun is it to sort of marry your style of sort of dress with work? Like, it
Yeah.
seems like that's something that you really truly enjoy.
Oh my gosh, this is like the best question ever. So I love fashion so much. Yes, I used to watch the 19 like in 1990, 1991. I used to watch all of the Donna Karan and DKNY runway models. Like I was like obsessed. I mean, I would be like sitting in Neiman Marcus, just like waiting for my mom in the dressing room while she was literally just trying on clothes forever, and I did not mind. I would just like look at everything. I am obsessed with fashion. My favorite color is leopard, by the way. I know, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
leopard. But no, I I gotta say this, like I feel like that's one thing that might maybe like actually be something unique that might set me aside from
100%.
some other agents. I'm not really the most typical dressing looking agent. I am very professional. I believe in being just yourself, and um, I love colors. I love colors. I like black. I love jewelry. I love hair. I'm big into red lipstick. I just love having a very eclectic look. And I think that you can have an edgy, eclectic look, um, being in a professional setting still. Um, and you don't have to just wear, just a suit all the time or just a dress all the time. I think there is a way to still have your fashion sense and your style, and incorporate that into your showings or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think
But
it really works for you too because it definitely feels authentic to you, right? So when I've seen you
yeah.
in person, I'm like, oh yeah, that she's very intentional about her dress. It's very cool. It's unique, and it's part of your brand. And I think there's nothing inherently negative about that. I know sometimes people want to, obviously your professionalism, your skill level, all of the
Yeah.
things you do are really the most important part. But it's nice to have a really intentional aesthetic, and you do. And I think
Thank
that that's
you.
something that a lot of agents could really think about. What is my aesthetic? Even if it's maybe if it's more conservative, more edgy, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Really be intentional about that. People remember how people are dressed. I mean, they really do. um, I want to go back all the way back to you. At the beginning you talked about
Sure.
really wanting to become a tennis pro, and I just got back from, well, not just, but a few months ago I went to the US Open out in
Yay.
Flushing. Yeah, so it was my second year in
So
a row
fun.
going. Yeah, so much fun. So and that was, yeah, by the way, if anyone ever has an opportunity to go out to the US Open, if you're in New York you've probably already done that if you live there, but if you haven't, it's a great opportunity to really see some wonderful tennis, and just got to get a sense of what that the US Open really is, which is really a lot of fun. But I'm curious about when you were playing. I'm a tennis player as well, but when you started in tennis and you really were going to make
Mhm,
this your career, it's a tremendous amount of discipline like any other sport. So can you
mhm.
talk a little bit about the amount of work that you were putting into it, and did that translate over into, once you were, a real estate agent, did those skills kind of transfer over?
Yeah, so that is a whole nother part of my life. It basically was my life the whole first, probably at least the first 15 to 17 years of my life. Yeah, so basically, I was a USTA tennis player, USTA junior national tennis player. From the time I remember, since I was about maybe like 6 years old. Well, I started when I was about four, but when I was probably about 6 or 7 is when things had to really get serious. Like I literally was sat down by my parents. I have the European tennis parents. My dad's from Hungary, my mom's from Italy, so they have the dreams, right? When they come to America, it's like, okay, we have our daughter and maybe she'll be a tennis pro. I don't know. But basically, I had to have a very serious talk with them when I was about 6 and a half. I remember I was in a car with them and they're like, you have to choose. You want tennis or you want to be a figure skater? Because I was doing both and I chose tennis. So ever since 6 and a half, I basically just trained every single day. I was always going after school. I was picked up straight to tennis. I'd get a private tennis lesson, and then I would have my group tennis training, which would usually be around anywhere from like an hour private to like 3 hours of training afterwards. It was pretty consistent like that all the way up until high school. When you become like 12 or 13 is really when it's like serious, and my parents wanted to send me to Bolletary
Sure,
uh, in
down in
Florida.
Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a little scary because I was 12 when I had another serious talk with them, and they really wanted to take it to another level. I was, nationally ranked. It was one of those things where you either just do it full time at that point, you shut off everything else in your
Right.
life and you just go for it. I wasn't ready to do it. I cried a lot about it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to leave my parents. Like it was I don't even know if it was my
Sure.
friends as much. I didn't want to like leave my parents.
Well,
So I
what 12-year-old does? I mean,
I know.
that's a big ask. It's a big ask
It's
for
just a
someone.
big ask, and like, but here's the thing. It really brought so much routine and discipline to my life now. And you ask like, how do I apply it to, or how have I applied
Yeah.
it to my real estate life? And my biggest thing that I think that I have a strength in is my wellness routine. I've always been into working out. I mean, I used to have a personal trainer at the age of 8. I don't know if people would frown upon that now, but back then, people really did it, whatever. So I had a personal trainer. I was consistently always working out, always eating healthy. I mean, I was always thinking about what I had to eat, and it's it hasn't changed, honestly. And now I think the fact that I'm able to wake up early in the morning and I can get things done. I have a schedule. I still love to work out. It helps to stress me.
Yeah.
I love being a coach for my team. I've been coached my whole life. And I don't know. I think that it just really helps also with when I'm with my clients. I mean, I love being super competitive for them. If we're going into a multiple offer situation, or maybe not even a multiple offer, just knowing that there's a hot property and they want it, like I want to get it for them. So it's almost like, to me, I look at it as as like a match every time I'm going out into the field with them. I want to do the best I can for them, and I'm sure that's got to do with something with how I play tennis and
Well, yeah,
the
you
competitive
just
edge.
you had to do a lot of activity. You had to be intentional about your food
Very.
and your schedule and your exercise, and all of
Yeah.
that is just being really setting up an intentional kind of life where you're like, this is what I do. And maybe it was done for you when you were little because that's how it works. But as an adult, it's I think a lot of us could benefit from really thinking about building instead of like letting things happen and just kind of going, well, I should do this, I should do that. It's like literally sitting down and saying, let's design my diet, or let's design my health regimen, or let's design my marketing
Mhm.
practice for finding new clients, and not just kind of flying by the emails that come in and responding to text messages and all of the sort of what we need to deal with that's right in front of us that can feel really productive, and it technically is productive for our existing clients and whatever is urgent in the moment. But this idea of planning in advance, I mean, you talked about like nutrition. Like for me,
Mhm.
I figured this out many years ago that maybe it's just me and other people wouldn't struggle as much with this. But I realized if I didn't plan my lunch before I left for the day, if I didn't bring a lunch or plan my lunch, I was going to make a bad decision for lunch. So I was
Yep.
literally going to make an
Totally.
unhealthy decision. And so I'm like, well, I can't trust myself to make a good health decision in the moment because I might be stressed out, I might be wanting to escape, I might be just feeling crummy, whatever. And fast food looks pretty good when you're stressed out.
Sure.
So I and so what I do is I plan my meals out, I batch cook, I do those things not because I'm like so brilliant, it's because I have such weak self-control. And so I think that's part of it too, is thinking about like, what are you good at, what aren't you good at?
Hmm.
And because for you lifestyle is everything, so you are
Yeah.
intentional about your stuff, but I'm sure there's parts of your business that you aren't good at or that you don't enjoy doing. And can you talk about sort of how you get through those tasks, or do you delegate, or do you team
Mm,
members help? So what are the things that about, because everyone has parts of their business if they're doing it all themselves that they're like, ugh,
yeah.
I'm not good at it. I don't like it.
I mean, honestly, that's to me, like, that's like one of the biggest things to realize in order to like become a successful agent. You do need to realize what you don't love to do in your business, and you do need to realize what your strengths are in your business, what you like to do. Because if you are doing those things that you don't love all the time, you're going to get burnt out. And some of those things for me were a lot of the paperwork. I really wasn't enjoying to do those anymore because as your business grows and you now have 8 to 10 to 12 to 14 to 15 listings and then buyers, and now you're like, okay, this is a lot of stuff to do, and you're not able to give your clients as great of service because you're thinking about how you have to upload disclosures to your deal management system or whatever it is. So one of those things that I decided to do a few years ago was I decided to hire a transaction manager, and it's literally that's changed my life. So that has been a huge thing for me, as far as getting things organized on that end. And then go ahead. Did you? Sorry. And then for my team, with them, they've been helping me a lot on my showing. So for a lot of my listings, they do assist me on being at those showings. I try to have an agent at every single showing for my listings. Obviously, things do come up, right? And our schedules do get booked sometimes, but I try to have somebody always at the showings. Open houses, I'll be very real with you. I do not love doing open houses. I really don't. And I think that after putting in a little over 17 years, I think that I kind of get to say if I want to do an open house or not, really, or if I feel like it. And just so you know, I always set my clients' expectations with this. And if someone really wants me to be at an open house, I, of course, will do it for them. But my my agents are amazing and they are very hungry to do open houses and they do them all the time. So
Yeah.
I usually have them do my open houses for my listings. So I think those are probably two I think of my biggest things right there are really the transaction management side and open houses.
Yeah, transaction management is interesting because for a good transaction coordinator, just for even one transaction, you can hire people to do individual deals. It's pretty affordable. I found it's
It
like
is.
usually about
Yeah,
$500 or less, and you only pay if it
exactly.
closes. And yeah, the quality can vary depending on who you get, but you can find some decent people. Eventually, you have somebody, you hire somebody, and
Yeah.
they're your person, and that's even better. And the other thing I wanted to also mention are these open houses. So, it's funny because, you talk about you're a top producer, you're busy, and open houses take time, and there's just a lot to do with them. And you've been doing them for 17 years. So you're like, okay, maybe I can offload or delegate those to some of my team members because they're the ones that probably need leads more than even I do, for which is really what
Right.
open houses, quite frankly, do more than anything, is hopefully provide some buyer leads, hopefully for that property, but probably for any property because there are people walking in. So this is something that if I were an agent and I were in your office and I didn't have any listings, I would be begging and pleading with you, please, please, please let me do an open house. And I'd probably have to earn that the right for you to say, okay, you can do one. And it's something that I want all of our listeners to consider doing. If there's anyone in your office with a listing, beg and plead with them to help you set up an open house, and see, because it's going to help them to the owner's going to think they're doing something great for their property. It's going to help you as the agent because you're going to learn how to talk to people about real estate and about a particular property. And also, it's just a great way to get leads. So I
Agreed.
think that's awesome. I think that's fantastic. And begging, and you were talking about this when you joined a team. You were like,
Mhm.
I was doing a lot of open houses because the team had
All the
listings.
time.
Yeah.
All the time. It was just such a good way to be able to, honestly, to feel busy. Like
Yeah.
especially as being a new agent, it's like I don't know. I just feel like I loved filling up my weekends with having all of this to do. And then at the same time, I remember thinking, wait, I'm also learning how to do this even better and learning these buildings, like going up and down some of these high rises. Like I now know where the amenities are. I know where this is.
Hmm.
And you're practicing saying your spiel. I mean, there's a lot to say when you're walking into a condo or people are asking questions about reserves and this and that. It's like it's all practice.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great way for you to be able to practice because they don't teach you this stuff in real estate school.
Yeah, yeah. So everyone listening, open houses still work. They are super effective, and
Mhm.
you have to do a lot of them though. You don't do one and
Yeah.
expect five buyers to walk in. They may or may not. But if you do 100 open houses next year, or that's probably too many to do. But if you do 50 or more, you'll find clients that way. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
ask your managing broker or top agents in your office what you could do to earn an opportunity to do an open house. And I know a lot of top agents will say when people ask them the first time, they'll say no. They'll go, I don't know you well enough yet. Thank you. And I'll keep you in mind. And they want to see if they come back, or they want to see how hungry they really are. And then, that can also happen too. So even if you get a no, my next question would be, could I ever earn a place to do this? Is there something I could do to really prove to you that I would be a great fit for this particular listing? Because I want to help your seller sell this property. And so there's all of those things. So yes, make that a big play for 2025. Anyone out there who is struggling with listings, and right now it's tough to get listings. Let's talk about the current climate right now. We have interest rates which are better than they were recently, but they're still a little higher than probably anyone would want. I don't think we're getting back down to the 3% days anytime soon, if ever. But we still have a lot of people locked into that 3% who
Mhm.
purchased years ago. So it's a tricky situation for sellers right now, because they might not want to sell strictly because of that interest rate. So curious if that's coming up for you a lot when you meet with sellers. Does that seem to be to impact? Or I just don't know because I'm not out there doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it kind of like varies. I mean, I am starting to see people wanting to just sell their homes and they do have that 2.5 or 3%. And they're like,
Yeah,
we just have to
yeah,
move.
you
Like
have to
it's
move.
just too
Yeah,
small. Like, I mean, we're coming up to what it's been since 2021 and 2020. It's almost been 4 years, right? So like they have so many different situations. Their families are going where they get a job or whatever it may be. A lot happens even in 2 years. So we're just seeing a lot of different things happen. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the beginning of next year. I mean, we keep hearing all these different things, right? I don't know about you, DJ, but like I'm hearing like 5.5% sometime next quarter.
let's hope.
So
That'd be nice. And,
let's
and I and
let's
I think
hope.
even think 6.5 is
Yeah.
reasonable. I mean, it's not a fun number
Yeah.
compared to. But anyway, I also wanted to just ask about
Hmm.
working with buyers these days, because as we know, with the NAR settlement, things have changed. We
Mm.
now set up our own commission structure directly with our client, as opposed to coupling the commission as was done before. Has
Mhm.
that changed anything for you? Is it basically still business as usual, or are you finding that those conversations are more challenging? Are they about the same? Just curious on how that's affected your business.
You know what's funny is that like I have never done a for sale by owner before my whole life. And literally, I think it was like August 14th or 15th, maybe whatever. It's like a week or something after the what was it? August 17th was the
Yeah.
NAR, I think, when it took effect.
Hmm.
And I had a buyer and he liked this condo and it happened to be a FISBO. And like basically he wasn't gonna pay out a commission, but I called that seller. It was the easiest conversation. I'm like, hey, this is going to be the commission. What do you want to net? And that was kind of our conversation. That's how we really started it. And he was like, this X amount of dollars. I go, great. So if we do X, can I have X? And he was like, that sounds like a great deal to me. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, I mean, I don't know
And
if
that's a
that might have
that's a
just been,
FISBO. That's a FISBO.
and that's a FISBO. So like that was a really great way for me to like just start off right off the bat, like with I gave him the broker compensation agreement. I had the talk with the buyer. I mean, everybody was fine and happy and it worked out great. So that was I think just like after that, I had I don't know, I just had like confidence going into it. And also I don't know. I didn't really find this as big of a deal as
Yeah.
maybe some people did. Like in my
Hmm.
head, I just think it's just what the seller's going to net. So as
Right.
long as we could come up with that number, and if you're an agent that's able to have that conversation with your seller or your buyer, it really shouldn't be that much of an issue. It's really we're just being more transparent now. We are being transparent now. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think it's buyers who were always paying commissions. They just
They were
didn't know
all
it. Yeah.
right.
It was invisible.
Right.
It wasn't a check they physically wrote out,
It was
so they
part of
didn't
the whole
realize.
number.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's good to know. And then I wanted to also ask,
Yeah.
you're building this team. Are you looking for more team members? Are you looking to grow your team? Sort of, or are you like, this is what because I have people on the show who are like, I do not want any more people. This is all I can handle. And then of course people are looking to grow. But what do you see for yourself for your team?
Mhm. Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would love to be able to grow my team to maybe one other agent. I don't want to have a very big team at all. Excuse me. But I am looking for a really solid agent that has had some years of experience. So if you're out there and you're watching this, feel free to reach out. But I am looking for one more teammate. So I would love to have maybe the max of between 4 and 5 people on my team, and I would not go any further than that.
That's awesome. So for anyone
I
out
like
there
it
who
small.
is in the Chicagoland area and wants to partner with a top producer and thinks they could be of value to Gia, reach out to her. Also, if you are in a market where people from Chicago move to, maybe they retire or have a second home or vacation home, that is also a person to connect with. Gia, she would love to chat with you. And also, people move into Chicago from other markets as well. So if you're one of our listeners from anywhere in the country and you think, oh, I sometimes have people to refer to in Chicago, or I'd like to develop a relationship with Gia because she probably has clients that move out near me, that would be an awesome reason to reach out and see if you guys have some synergies together. And also, want everybody to follow Gia on her on Instagram, which is Gia Chicago. I will have a link to that in the show notes. Oh, one last question for you, and I think this is
Mhm.
always a fun one
Mhm.
for our listeners is what was a mistake that you made early on in your real estate career that if you could go back and change it, obviously you can't, but if you could, you're like, oh, I really didn't do that thing correctly. So is there anything that comes to mind that was like a big sort of, ooh, that one didn't work, or maybe you lost a big client
Mhm.
or something, something like that?
Hmm. There's so many different things, right? I feel like that's how you become successful is you fail so many times.
Yes.
But so many different things. I think honestly my biggest thing was just not following up with clients
Yeah.
when I was an agent in the earlier years. I really feel like that was something that I think about a lot. Um where I just thought, gosh, if I only had a CRM, like I really do, like if I had that, I feel like things would be even different.
Yeah.
And then I guess honestly, just to piggyback on that really quick, I wish I moved to the city a little bit sooner. I wish I
Sure.
became a city agent when I was like 26 or 27 because
Yeah.
I just feel like that this is where this was, I don't know, it was just like a better fit. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just more real or something for me. Um,
So I'm
that's
hearing
really
listen
it.
to your intuition and
Yes.
intuition has almost never steered me wrong. If I can identify what's true intuition and what's like fear and other things. So if I can kind of separate those out and go, ooh, that's intuition telling me to move to the city or whatever, it usually turns out in the right way. And then, the other thing of following up, by the way, you sort of like, well, I guess it's following up. That's everybody's biggest challenge in this business. So let's all remember follow up once the home is
Mhm.
sold or the person moves into an apartment. Let's not lose touch with them because of course those people will need you in the future, especially renters. I mean, anyone renting, even if you didn't do the
Oh,
rental,
yeah.
you should have in your calendar when that lease is going to come due, and maybe 3 months ahead of time or 4 months be like, hey, I know your lease is coming due, let's talk about maybe what you want, what some options for going forward.
Totally.
Yeah, and you've gotten a lot of business doing that. You've worked with renters who can
Oh yeah.
transition into buyers. Well, anyone out there who is interested in working directly with Gia, maybe your local Chicago agent, reach out to her. We will have all of her contact information in our show notes. And again, if you're somebody who's in a different market but have people coming and going from the Chicago area, and Gia does city and suburbs. She is
Mhm.
everywhere. So just reach out to her, and also maybe you could develop a nice relationship there. Gia, I am so grateful for your time today. You were
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Really enjoy having you on the day, and also just your positivity and sort of joy sort of seems to come through. And maybe that isn't the
Thank
perfect
you.
word for me, but this is what's coming to my mind is joy. You have a lot of joy, and I think that really goes a long way when things get hard. Is like still having this like I can make this work. I can figure this out, and failing
Always.
failing constantly. I'm the same way. I do have a different type of position here in the industry, but I fail way more than I succeed, way more. And that's kind of the secret to my success as well. Is just fail as much as you can and learn, like you were saying at the beginning, learn
Yes.
and make different choices, of course, in the future. All right, Gia. Well, we are so grateful on behalf of our audience for your time
Oh,
today.
thank
You're amazing.
you.
We're so thrilled to continue to watch your team build and your production grow. And also, on behalf of Gia and myself, want to thank our listeners and viewers for sticking around to the end of the episode. We appreciate you. Please tell a friend about this episode. Think of one other agent that could benefit from hearing from Gia. Send them a link to our show. Also, follow us wherever your podcasts are served. Subscribe, and also leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. It helps us, and it helps us get more viewers and listeners, but it also tells us what you like and what we can change about the show to make it even better. So please do that for us. We appreciate you. Gia, thank you so much. We will see everybody on the next
Thank
episode.
you.